But now let's get into the thing. I mean, I don't have that much to say about it. I'll just say my thing. I mean, my main thing, and you guys can go into the details. You guys know more about it than I do. My main thing is that Tony Khan really should have just fired both of them. I'll just say that. Either fired or suspended both of them. The suspended part's kind of difficult because fucking Punk just came back from a suspension. You know what I mean? It's like he's never going to learn. You just, you know. But I still feel they should have fired both of them because it just looks terrible and just stupid that you fired the big star and you keep the nobody. Because, like it or not, outside of AEW, Jack Perry's a nobody. You know what I mean? Who is he, really? Even if he's like the pillar or whatever, he's still a nobody if you ask people on the street, you know? So that's my only thought of it. But you guys can go into more of the backstory because I don't even know what was the original. I know there was some kind of glass spot where CM Punk was bitching about it, but you guys.
Okay, so what happened from what I recall is that originally Perry wanted to do a spot using real glass, but he was going to do it, I think, on Collision, I think, or something like that. And and
it was during that segment. It was during that segment where they did the the funeral for the FTW title. That was when he was going to do.
Okay, yeah, and they were telling him like, no, you shouldn't do this. No, you shouldn't do this. No, you shouldn't do this. And I think they went to Punk. It was like, can you talk some shit to this little jackass? You mean Jack Perry? Yeah, that's what we said, the jackass. So anyway, they go to talk to, and Paul was saying, you are not going to do this stuff here. This is not Wednesday night or something like that. This is not Dynamite, this is Collision. And I guess, Perry took it the wrong way. And then later on, you're hearing like, oh, he did get cleared to do that spot and he could do it at All In. And then he made that quip on air about, Cry Me a River, this is real glass, and obviously it's the Punk, but it doesn't make sense. He was saying he's trying to get heat, and that was like stupid. And then they had their confrontation backstage. You're getting different stories based around that. Even some anonymous source from some guy who's not a wrestler that was in the back that saw what happened. Oh, and even the thing with Collision last week, apparently they said after Tony Khan, made that announcement or whatever, they said that the viewership dropped by like 20% or something after that announcement. The viewer watching went down like 19 or 20% and they were in Chicago. So of course people would have been pissed.
And then the other thing was that I believe Khan didn't announce that CM Punk was fired until it was like too late for people to get a refund on All Out if they bought All Out with CM Punk somewhere.
And they couldn't get a refund for Collision either because all ticket holders at these shows, both Collision and at Wembley, or not Collision and the center, whatever the fuck it's called.
And I gotta say that is pretty.
Yeah, that they literally both have 48-hour policies. So that means you literally have up until 48 hours to get a refund. So he deliberately did it literally the day before, so no one would be able to get a refund. And then on top of that,
that's some bullshit.
And then on top of that, there's actual videos of it and photos of it before anyone who had a CM Punk sign prior to this taping of both Collision and of All Out. Literally, security would go in between the stands, have everyone check their signs. If they even had the words CM Punk, they would take away their signs. And before they even entered the building, if they were wearing a CM Punk shirt, they made them turn it inside out.
Yeah,
in Chicago.
That's WWE level bullshit.
Now the shirt thing, I heard that was that wasn't fully true or something, because you still could see people wearing CM Punk shirts if you looked for them or something like that.
Into the building. They literally wouldn't let them into the building. So when you go to the thing. So that means when they got in the back, when they got back to the seat, they just flipped it and back inside out. But the point of it is like, and then so basically what happened, the full transparency of what because the thing is, I know you guys were like busy and stuff. I was off that day. I was literally watching I was watching All In live because it was like 9 a.m. here. And I was off work that day. So it was 9 a.m. here. And so I was getting tweets. I was watching tweets in real time. So the report from Sean Ross Sapp, who was the one who leaked everything of the incident with Punk, was happening IRL, reported IRL when Joe was out in the ring. So this narrative of Joe breaking them up is a fucking lie, because how could he have broken them up if he was in the ring? So what actually happened, this is what actually happened from what Sean Ross Sapp said. It happened right after the hook match and all that stuff. Perry, because remember, Perry did that spot where he fell on the glass. His shoulder had glass shards in it still. So his shoulder was bleeding and still had glass shards in it. And he hit Punk. He tried hitting Punk with his shoulder that was covered in glass. But Punk was wearing that jacket. And so Punk was like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? And then he walked away, and he's all like, you want to try to do, and I think Punk said something to him. I think he's like, what the fuck was that about? I remember Punk said something like, real professional.
He had a problem with me or something, or
he said like real professional kid, you really want to go? That's what he said, like, real professional kid, you really want to go? And then Perry leaped at Punk, and then Punk choked him out, basically. That's what, according to Sean Ross Sapp, that's what happened. He choked, Perry leaped at Punk, and then he choked him out. And then that was and then mind you, this is all happening, tweeting in real time while Joe is in the ring. So there's no possible way this narrative of, well, Joe broke them up. How could he break them up? He was in the ring.
While Joe's still walking and they're putting, the Joe thing.
Yeah, he was doing his pose and all that shit. Yeah. And then Punk came out and all this stuff. And that's basically what the incident was, where, like I said, Punk choked him out. Apparently Kahn, the whole time this is happening, he's sitting at that gorilla position, like Vince does. And he's just saying, hey, he's like, stop, Punk, stop. Seriously, stop it. And then he let go of Perry's neck, and then he went out and did his entrance. And then like the match continued.
But you misunderstand. The whole time Kahn was fearing for his life.
Yeah.
He was,
because basically he well, that's the thing. This is the part that, okay. So basically that whole thing happened. Punk went out, Punk fought, Punk retained the real world title. Okay. That's kind of random that he would retain the world belt. I mean, you've already established this as the real world title. I know, but it is still the real world title because it never got beaten from Punk. And so he goes up to Wembley. As soon as he gets out in the backstage, he literally says, he's like, fucking hate this place. I quit. That's from where the reports end. The rest of it changed into a narrative of, according to one or two different sources, they said Kahn tried going up to him. And then another source said him and Punk and him went backstage and they went into his office or some bullshit like that. But here's the part I forgot to mention prior to all of this, prior to this incident, way before this incident happened. Cut back to the day of Wembley, They arrived in London. When they arrived in London, this has been confirmed too. Before they arrived to London, because it's another country, they had specific people had to meet up in specific groups, with the exception of mainstay stars. And the Bucks and Kenny, Don Callis, Takeshita, and like basically everyone involved in that match besides Jay and the Bullet Club, all had not only two of their friends meet them at the London airport, they met them with a stretch limo. They met them with all of the elite in a stretch limo. They took a stretch limo from the airport to their hotel, from their hotel to Wembley. Meanwhile, Punk, who had two separate numbers that he was given by Tony Kahn to contact, so that way he would know where to go. Hey, you got to go to this place. The taxi will be waiting for you here. He gets off the airplane. Both numbers are disconnected. So he has no one to contact. He doesn't know where his hotel is. He knows the name of the hotel, and he runs into, in the airport, a guy wearing an All-In shirt. And the guy says, hey, are you CM Punk? And can I get a shirt? He's like, actually, he's like, hey, so you're a wrestling fan, right? Do you know where this hotel is? He's like, yeah, but you got to take this subway terminal because the taxis will be too hard to get there. So he literally has to go he has now put himself in danger by going with this random fan. And the fan literally, he said, he said, how much do you want me to, I remember Punk said, how much do you want, the fan said, well, can I just get a selfie with you? And he goes, yeah, that's fine. So the fan literally step by step took him to his own hotel because the fucking management and All Elite wouldn't even have someone meet him at the airport. And so he had to take a subway tunnel with a random guy. And then they have that photo that I posted. You can show it, Mark, if you want, right here.
You posted somewhere.
So that's proof that, yeah, I'll send it again. But he literally was in the subway with this random guy just to get to his hotel because the management left him there. So this all happened prior to Wembley. And then, like I said, and then Perry fucking hitting him with a thing of glass in his shoulder and trying to instigate a fight and all of this crap. And him like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? And like, he's like, dude, this is like a moment before his entrance is going to start. And so Punk went out, did the entrance, comes back. And then he says, fuck it. He's like, man, I fucking hate this place. I fucking quit this place. And then according to reports, Kahn either tried talking to him or he went with Kahn. It depends on who you ask. So all that is confirmed for sure was Perry instigated the fight. Punk choked him out. Those are the two things that are 100% confirmed. Then all of this happens. And then what happens? Wembley was August 27th. It isn't until a full week, later, it wasn't until that following Friday, which happens to be in Chicago, that the morning of, they put a statement out that basically explained, we will no longer be working with CM Punk, this is disheartening to the fans. And that's all fine and dandy. Everything's cool, like whatever. They terminated him, whatever. Then Kahn has the balls to pre-record and come out at Collision and try to convince the fans that I did it for my safety, you guys. I did it for my safety because Punk put my life in danger. I'm like, wait a minute. Whoa. Now you're changing the fucking narrative. Now you're changing the fucking narrative. Now you're saying that he put your life in danger. And you used it literally, according to them, they said they fired him, according to the paper, the statement, they fired him following a weeks-long internal investigation. But then Kahn on TV, national television, says, today I made one of the hardest decisions of my life. And Phil Brooks, CM Punk, has been terminated by All Elite Wrestling. He put my life in danger and the lives of my security. I'm like, you know what that fucking is? It's called slander. That's literally slander. You cannot claim that you fired a person over an investigation and then go and change the narrative after you make an official statement and say that they put your life in danger. Because then you start asking, wait a minute. So he put your life in danger on Sunday and you waited a full work week to fire him? I'm sorry, but I don't think even McDonald's would let that shit fly. like, I don't know anyone else that would be like, oh yeah, hey, you know what? I'm the boss here. And that guy, that guy over there, he put a knife to my throat. But you know what? It's Sunday. Let's give him a week. Let's give him a full work week of pay. Sure. What the fuck? No, you don't. Here's the other narrative. Here's the one last thing I will say. This is the other thing that makes me laugh. Did you notice in the entire video segment that Khan put, and in the written statement, not once did he mention Jack Perry? Not once did he even say Jack Perry. He didn't say there was an incident between two of our talents, CM Punk and Jack Perry. He didn't say Jack Perry's name once on television because he wants to keep Jack Perry around. He doesn't want to keep CM Punk, and he's trying to claim house. The reason they didn't fire, and a lot of people go, why didn't they fire Punk after the media scrum in the first place? And we have already gone over this, but I said it the first time, because if they fired Punk, he could sue the shit out of them, because those guys instigated a physical fight with him. Just like Perry instigated a physical fight with Punk. Punk has been in the wrestling industry prior to AEW for 17 fucking years. 17 years. 11 of those years was in WWE. And you got to think about who the fuck was working in WWE back then. You had The Miz, Randy Orton, Triple H, Ric Flair, Vince, all of these egomaniacs, and not a single time did he ever have a physical altercation. Not once. But in 2 years, less than 2 years, he's had 2 separate physical altercations. I'm like, come on, guys. Like, you guys, it's not rocket science. It's literally they're trying to scapegoat it.
Not only that, but Vince
That's all it is.
Actually wait a full week or so to fire Nails. You know what I mean?
I was about to bring that up too. I was about to mention the thing with Nails. I mean, he went into his office and he tried to take him out and all that stuff. I mean, he was playing a convicted killer or whatever. He tried to take out Vince. And Vince didn't come out and say, "Yeah, I fear for my life."
Yeah. Could you imagine, honestly, any of you guys imagine could you imagine WWE letting anything like that happen? Like a wrestler threatening another, or putting another person's quote unquote, the boss's life in danger, and them just letting him stick around for a full work week?
Well, they were investigating.
Oh,
he was there. Apparently, Khan was there at the scrum. It was like he wasn't. He pretty much said at the scrum that gave off the impression that he wasn't around. And then later on, it's pretty much the opposite, where it's like he was there, he saw what was happening, but they still need to do an investigation. But the jackass was there to see what was happening.
Well, it's like the same motherfucker. You know what it was? You know what? I was just thinking about this. You know what it felt like? I was just thinking about this. It was the wrestling equivalent of Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. And not the actual slap, but the way everyone acted after the fact. We all saw it. We all saw you motherfuckers standing around doing nothing, and we saw you motherfuckers standing up and giving him a round of applause for Best Actor after he did it. Like, you guys are pretending like, well, we don't know the full context. We don't need to know the full context. Motherfucker assaulted a dude on national TV, and you're totally fine with it. That's the context. That's all you need to know. So according to them, like I said, if his life was in such danger that he had to wait a full work week to fire him, I'm sorry, but like, you don't need an internal investigation. Anyone who works for any major company will tell you, if you put your boss's life in physical danger, they don't need an internal investigation. That is an immediate termination. In fact, that's probably a lawsuit right there.
I mean, for God's sakes, look at what happened with Vince McMahon and Bret Hart.
Oh yeah, Bret decked him in the face. He didn't go, "Well, hang on, pal. We're gonna keep you around for another week or so." They're like, "No, you're done. You're fucking done, bro."
Like, what was like the reason? Did they ever go into why they kept them behind, like for a week or so, or are they trying to kind of, I guess, give a week to kind of figure out the best way to fire him, maybe without him suing or some bullshit? Or
they never gave a full reason. They literally never gave a reason. They just said that they were doing an internal investigation, which really means And you have already connected the dots, Mark, and I've already connected the dots with all you guys. This is the reason why they announced it on a Friday, because they knew that the people of Chicago could not get a refund.
Yeah, I'm so stupid. Yeah, that's true. If they fired him right off the bat, people would have been canceling their all out. Yeah, I forgot.
Everyone wouldn't have gotten all in. No one would have gotten all out. No one would have gone to Collision, because they knew that this, and this is the fact. This is all the fact that everyone here has all agreed to. We just reviewed All In, but the one thing that everyone's been talking about hasn't been a single goddamn thing about the show. It's been about Punk, because Punk by himself is more interesting than the entirety of that fucking pay-per-view. And the sad thing of it is,
I was never that big of because I missed the whole Punk era. I was still in Mexico. We didn't have access.
Oh, no, and that's fine. That's fine.
No, I'm just saying an example. Like for me, I don't care that much. The reason I didn't care much about All Out was because the matches were lackluster, and because it was like the very fucking next week. It's like, okay, we spent $50 on All In. You want to spend another $50 the very next week on All Out. So you can imagine a lot of people with a similar sentiment, but they're kind of like, but you know, CM Punk's gonna be there, so at least it's worth the extra $50. And then like you said, had they announced right away that he was fired, then that would have been probably the worst selling pay-per-view in AEW history.
But they did say that he was suspended. For him and Perry were suspended for the time. We just didn't know what was going to happen for the next week. But and then even then, there's the rumors that he didn't even know he was suspended and had to get that message from his lawyers or something.
No, they didn't say anything about a suspension. They didn't say anything about a suspension until Thursday. They mentioned the suspension on Thursday and then the termination on Friday. So they still wouldn't even had enough time because, like I said, that 48-hour policy. So they literally did it intentionally. It's not fucking rocket science to figure it out. And it's also funny that Jack Perry was suspended
during a vacation.
During a vacation.
He's indefinitely suspended, according to Kahn. He said it at the Scrum.
It's like, we saw you kill 3 people, Officer Bradley. We're going to give you the worst punishment the police station could give you. Full week. It's like a month suspension, full pay.
Oh, no, but then I heard another thing, too, where they're saying that he is suspended, but they don't know if Perry's going to have to pay a fine or something, but he is going to be hit financially for whatever. So I don't know.
Wow.
My thing is...
So that's, I mean, like, I understand, like you said, the reasoning, because like I said, it's true. If they announced CM Punk was fired too soon, that would have been the lowest selling pay-per-view ever due to both that and the horrible timing, like the very fucking next week and all that shit. But it's like, that's some shady shit though, man. That's some bullshit right there, dude. Like you said, the 48-hour policy, just purposely wait until it's too late. You know, that's damn.
That's scalping shit. That's literally scalping shit. That's literally what it is. That's all it is.
Oh, what were you going to say, Johnny?
I'm sorry. Sorry, Johnny. Sorry.
Timestamp is very weird too, because putting rewind a little bit on the whole incident when that shit first happened, you have their top wrestler choking the hell out of Jack Perry because Jack Perry instigated the fight and he was getting physical and he was gonna, hit CM Punk with glass and all that shit. So it would make more sense if they really wanted to go to that route that we're gonna, terminate you or we're gonna suspend you or whatever. It would make more sense that right then and there, when that incident happened, in the very least, a suspension would have to take place right then and there, no questions asked. It's just gonna happen. Like you're gonna get suspended because what you did is off limits.
But another thing too, it's let's say we have a big BGM
thing. You let that slide by, and okay, CM Punk still cap this fight with I forgot his name, with Samoa Joe like if nothing happened.
Yeah,
and then
that makes no sense. Think about it. If that thing happened right there, they could have literally said, They could have done what they did. Like, think about what the same thing happened with it just happened at the most recent WrestleMania. So hello?
Yeah, we're listening.
Oh, sorry. The most recent thing happened at the most recent WrestleMania. So there was a match originally booked for WrestleMania that was supposed to be Bobby Lashley versus Bray Wyatt, and he was apparently at the arena, but apparently there was like a whole issue and they couldn't do the match, right? So they had played Bobby Lashley's music, and apparently then they cut away to like a commercial thing in the middle of the WrestleMania. And according to people, like, he was in the arena, like Lashley walked to the ring. And then I guess they were waiting for Bray, but he never showed. So I literally, they just cut to a long ass commercial break, and then Lashley went backstage, and then that was it. They just acted like nothing happened. So I'm like, they could have done that. I know it's a weird thing they could have done, but they could have done something like that. But like, they couldn't do that because, but like I said, again, it goes back to that thing. He put his life in danger, so much danger that he decided to keep a title on him. It's so much danger that he waited a full work week, and then so much danger that he decided, I'm going to destroy any semblance of getting anyone to get a refund. It's shady.
Yeah, but another thing is like let's say our VGM thing was this is another way to look at it. A VGM, let's say we have a big video game master studio and we all, live in proximity to film the show and junk like that. And
yeah.
Let's say that for whatever reason you had beef with I'll say William, because Johnny's my brother. Obviously there's gonna be
no.
But I'm just saying that. So
Gotcha. Yeah.
You attack William for whatever reason. William defends himself. How's that? No, yeah. You attack William. William defends himself, but William gets fired, and you just get suspended. How does that work? Because again,
that's literally exactly what happened.
Scoped them out, but CM Punk was defending himself against an assault from Perry, and yet he's the one that got fired, and Perry got suspended. That's another way of that's more bullshit.
So actually, just Tony Kahn is just hearing from all this just really sound like a shady ass businessman, like a shady ass con man,
stupid ass businessman. But you see my example, right? Like one guy attacks the other.
Yeah, I know, you're right.
The guy who defended himself gets fucking fired, and I know that. Previous history, the scrum and all that, but in this case, CM Punk did nothing wrong except defend himself. Not only that, but the match was starting. He just, for lack of a better term, disabled the threat immediately. Went on to do the show because we got a show to do. Kid, wait till later, and that's bullshit.
Now you gotta look at her perspective, because I'm not defending Jack Perry at all. What he did was horrible, but you also have to see it perspective that he still got choked really bad. So
but it's the same point of it is like
the star status too. It would be the equivalent of fucking what's a good example? Hold on, give me a minute. Heath Slater jumping the Undertaker backstage.
Yeah.
And the Undertaker, the fucking Undertaker gets fired, but fucking Heath Slater just gets suspended.
Wait. No. I know why they wouldn't fire Heath Slater, because he got kids.
Yeah, I know, but you know what I mean. This is the thing. There was an incident that happened like this. There's an incident that's happened similar to this in WWE. It was a major pay-per-view. It was supposed to happen in 2003, something like that. 2003, and it was there's a thing where like Jericho got into a physical altercation with Lesnar, and like it's a very infamous one where he pretty much beat the shit out of Lesnar because Lesnar got all confronting about him and attacked him, and then they start beating the shit out of each other. And they literally, it was like a week before the pay-per-view, and they just suspended both of them and just didn't tell anyone, and then they just changed the card. But the thing of it is, they suspended both of them. They did equal punishment to both. But to fire Punk and suspend Perry is proof positive of the bias. Everything that I've told you proves that they wanted Punk gone. Because the fact of the matter is, after the media scrum, Punk knew, because Punk's not an idiot. Punk knew that if they had fired Punk because of the whole fight with the Elite, which, remember, they also instigated because of a promo, that he could have sued them. He could have sued them for everything.
Well,
because
they're vice presidents, like vice presidents
exactly
attacking an employee.
Because it wasn't just a group of talent attacking; it was vice presidents attacking them. So they what they did was they just suspended the Elite and then gave, because this is the other thing people are forgetting about the media scrum. Looking back on it, Punk was injured. Punk was already injured. He was gonna vacate the belt because he separated his shoulder. And he separated his leg. So he was going to give up the belt anyway. So there really wasn't even a reason to fight. And so they literally instigated a fight for no reason other than they
got butthurt over the stuff he said. You know, the whole thing about that.
Yeah.
That they could.
And
the target and all that shit.
And so to calm tensions, they suspended all of the Elite and removed their positions of power in the company. But here's what fucked up. And this is why Cody left. This is the real reason why Cody left. They removed every semblance of a position of power from all of the Elite. Not just Kenny and the Bucks, but Cody and Hangman too. Cody had nothing to do with the scrum at all. He wasn't even in the building. But they punished him with the Elite by removing them from creative. Cody was in charge of...
Cody was long gone by the scrum time.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, I mean, Cody's ancient history by now, by this time. He was gone way before Punk came in.
Well, maybe I must.
Yeah, didn't Cody originally leave because despite all the stuff they gave him, he still they took creative control away from him, but that got him mad. Despite
they basically backed him into I was reading it wrong. Sorry, Cody. The reason Cody left is because they were writing creative for him because he had creative to a point in Dynamite, but not about his character. The Bucks had control over specific characters, including Cody, so it'd be unbiased. But that's why they booked Cody to have that stupid stipulation where if he couldn't beat MJF, he could never challenge for the world title, and he lost. So they made it so Cody could never, ever, ever be a world champion.
Oh, that's just stupid.
That's why they had. And then, so remember, because that's why Cody could never challenge for a world title. He literally lost to MJF. That was the condition. So to keep him around, Khan literally said, okay, well, what if we make you a new belt? And they created the TNT title to keep Cody. That's the whole reason it exists.
Oh, wow.
And so that's the whole reason the TNT title. Because remember, they had that whole tournament and then the finals, Cody won. And remember, Mike Tyson was there and Cody won it. And then Cody goes, you know what? Now that you've given me this title, I'm going to use this as a backdoor to get indie talents here to show them off to the crowds. And that's when they got like guys like Kingston and all these fucking guys. Anyway, I'm running off track. My whole thing of it is Punk. I'm 100% behind Punk because the fact of the matter is what I know about Punk, I've known his career from the get-go. As much of an egotist Punk is about himself, he would never, ever, ever, ever sacrifice something as big as the Wembley show for his own ego. He wouldn't. He just wouldn't. That's just not him. He literally wouldn't have done that. The media scrum happened after the show. After the show. If the Bucks had come up to him in the beginning of the show and go, he'd be like, we'll deal with it later. I know him because he's done that before. Christopher Daniels had an issue with him years ago, and Tyler Black had an issue with him years ago about some bullshit that they were supposed to have at Ring of Honor. And he said, well, we'll talk about this after the show. Like multiple times they said, well, we'll talk about this after the show. And then after the show, they're all, worn out and they go, hey, so do you still want to talk about that thing? And they go, nah, never mind. But the thing of it is Punk would not have sacrificed. And also, what sense would it make for Punk to have instigated a fight before his own entrance? Like, what sense does that make? Why would he instigate a fight before his own entrance to his own match? It makes no sense. I mean,
What about that? What about the lunging thing at Tony Khan thing? He said he lunged at him allegedly.
Apparently, when Jack Perry, that's another thing that's added and changed over. When Jack Perry lunged at him and Punk was choking him out, I guess Perry was like kicking around the table, and I guess he hit the monitor, and the monitor hit Khan, and that's where the whole "he put my life in danger." I'm like, oh no, a small TV monitor. My goodness.
Like,
Next, you'll sell me the basket of cranberries will break my femur.
Danger, safety.
Yeah. Yeah, and literally everyone is even saying, like, even on the wrestling forum I was on, they were pointing out that in the media scrum there was a part, there was a part where Chris Statlander was talking and All Out, and she hit her hand on the table, and Khan fucking jumped. That was,
Oh my gosh!
he literally jumped like, fucking pussy. Oh my dude.
But person's trauma, sorry, Tony Khan deserves it.
But here's the funniest thing. Here's the biggest thing about all of this. If it was truly as traumatizing, I know you guys didn't see All Out, but there was something that did happen at All Out that was significant, very significant. After their match, so MJF and Cole defended their tag team titles in the first match. After their match concluded, MJF is walking up the ramp, and Joe's match start. Joe's match is going to be next. Joe comes out, walks down the ramp, pushes MJF with his shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
And they recreate basically what happened. And MJF runs up to him and like tries attacking him. Joe chokes him out, and then the security separates it. And I'm like, so you literally are recreating the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to you as a joke? I'm like, come on, dude. I don't want to say this, but like, if I was like if someone was like sexually assaulted and they were a writer on WWE, they wouldn't make an angle about it the following week. Like, I'm just saying, like, no, because everyone would be like, no, man, this is a little taboo. Well, I'm basing it off of my experience, you guys. You were there. Or like, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be there, dude. This is fucking weird. Like, it's the same principle of like, apparently it put his life in danger. And it's so traumatizing that the mere thought of Chris Statlander slightly tapping a table is going to make his bones rattle in fear. What?
I can't take that seriously.
Like, there was literally a segment where there was also a thing that happened at the media scrum with Bryan Danielson. Apparently the chair he was sitting on fell over.
Well, yeah, we saw
and he
that
almost
part.
fell.
We saw that.
And he almost fell. And everyone's like, everyone in the comment section said, Khan going, my cash cow. I mean, are you okay? Like,
Yeah, we saw that. Because Mark and I were watching the scrum for All Out, so we didn't bother watching All Out. So we were watching some of the media scrum. We missed that with Statlander, but we did see the thing with Danielson and falling over, and wasn't they trying to get his action figure back, make sure his action figure is still in good condition.
It was Danielson's going to be like taking over as the new face of Collision because, face of Collision was pretty much made for CM Punk, and now the reason for the show is now gone, and now Butterfly, his name is American Dragon's going to be taking over the show in that aspect, and that's another loss. It's like
that's a terrible decision.
Jay Cargill's fired. It's like
that's a terrible decision because when that's a terrible decision to have because the last time Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was in charge of anything, he was in charge of Ring of Honor for a little period of time, and he did such a piss poor job that they literally had to sell the company. I'm like, dude, come on, man. I'm like, man, you guys are really trying to double down on following in TNA's footsteps of self-sabotage, aren't you? It's like, and now introducing our new head of talent relations, Dixie Carter. No.
Now,
Hey, golly.
with this whole CM Punk situation, can he still get a lawyer?
Yeah. Yeah, he can, because what not he can't he's not going to sue to get back into wrestling, obviously, but he can sue him for slander, because slander by definition is when an entity or person or company talks ill of an individual for the sole purpose of affecting them either emotionally or financially. So for Khan to come out and say that Punk put his life in danger, that now risks any sort of financial income that Punk could have with working for other companies, because then they could point back and say, well,
yeah.
we're not going to work with him because this guy said he put his life in danger. Like, yeah. So now that is literally textbook slander. That is literally like a lawyer looking at that will go cha-ching.
All right, Punk's lawyer's probably on it.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, here's another thing. This is the biggest thing that people are not pointing out. Khan went to Punk. Punk didn't need Khan. Punk didn't need to come back to wrestling. He was done. He was getting into acting. And some of his movies, there's a movie he did called The Girl Next Door. It's really, really good. You should check it out. He's into that. He's doing that show Heels, which is actually really good. He's like a reoccurring character on that. He wants to get back into writing. AJ Lee has her own memoir, which is really, really good. I think you guys should, Wendy, you'd really like it. It's really interesting. Like I said, like, he doesn't need wrestling. Wrestling needs him. AEW needed him because they have, the fact of the matter is, you look at AEW and the truth of it is, we don't want to admit it, there's not a single person that you could see as 100% a draw. A person that a normie would look at and go, yeah, I'm going to watch for that guy. The only closest thing they have is they had Cody Rhodes. They had Cody Rhodes. But an average wrestling fan doesn't know who MJF is.
Oh, right.
The closest person they had was Jericho, and he's like he's barely around. That's why if you look at all the billboards for AEW, who's always in it? Jericho and Sting. Even though Sting's like barely on TV.
Yeah,
because like
why Jericho was their first champion, because it makes more sense between him and Hangman.
Yeah, it does.
No one knows who Hangman was, which probably that's true. The same thing now. That still rings true today. But Jericho's Jericho, you know. Yeah,
it's exactly, that's the one thing that Jim Cornette got right. He said it's 4 years, or Booker T made a great comment. He said I was talking to my wife, Charmel, about AEW, and she goes, I look back at how we raised our kids, and, you know, you got to let your kids be kids. They make mistakes, they screw up, and that's fine. But on occasion, if they keep making the same mistakes, you got to give them at least a figurative kick in the butt to go, hey, you know, get your shit together, so they know what they're doing. Like, hey, maybe put a fire under them, maybe get them started. He's like, but it doesn't seem like AEW has ever wanted or listened to any kicks in their butts ever. And I'm like, I agree. There's not been a single one.
All right. That Booker T thing. I've heard that. I heard him say that. And I was like, yeah, kind of agree with that.
Now, I wonder
made this one.
fans can do something about being forced to, you know, pretty much at this point, buying tickets to watch the pay-per-view, and, you know, Punk's no longer there, and you're already wasting money doing that shit. And the whole fact that you can't wear your CM Punk shirt apparently to the event, can fans do something about that? Can they, like, I don't know, maybe sue the company?
They can't really do anything about it because, like I said, that's the whole reason. Well, I mean, I know.
Oh, wait, they can't do anything because every time there's a wrestling show, remember, it always says at the bottom somewhere, card is subject to change, so you can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They do it deliberately in the event of something happening. But the thing of it is what's so funny is I did notice that, oh, and your number was kind of off, Wendy, with the whole collision thing. It actually dropped by like 30 to 34 to 37%.
Oh, I thought it was like the first hour. I thought it was like the first
no,
hour.
they just it dipped and it never rose back up after that. Like it just stayed
well, I
down.
figured.
And then the pay-per-view buys of the pay-per-view were like insanely low for All Out comparatively to All In. Which everyone's like, well, of course, because it's a week later. I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with a week later. And we all know, looking at the card at All Out, the match that Punk was most likely going to be in was the one with Ricky Starks. The strap match. Like that's the one that made the most sense. But, you know, like I said, with the whole situation with that, and then they had to bring Danielson back, even though Danielson isn't even 100% recovered yet. That's why he came out and he had an arm brace.
But that's probably why they made him do a strap match anyway, because it's probably easier for him to do with him still being injured.
Oh, so
yeah,
Brian
exactly
versus Ricky Starks then?
Yeah, it was Brian Danielson versus Ricky Starks in the strap match, and it was the whole. This was literally the angle they did on Collision, was basically going, "Oh, you signed a contract saying you'd fight the Dragon, not me," and then all of a sudden Danielson comes out and it's like, "It's the American Dragon." I'm like, that's the stupidest fucking reason to have him in there, but whatever. that was literally what it was.
Cared about. The thing is, they should have had Jericho and what's his face and Cole go up against a more reputable tag team, because the Dark Order is like, yeah, they're gonna drop their titles to the fucking Dark Order. Yeah, right. You know?
Yeah, I know.
The only
that's what I mean. I'm like,
was sort of, but Statlander versus Ruby Soho, because I love you to women wrestling, but like Ruby Soho ain't gonna be.
The literal only really, really good match of the entire show, and it was of both All In and All Out, was, if I was going to have you guys watch one match, it would be the Kenny Omega versus Takeshita match. It was a legitimate.
That's the only one I wanted to see, honestly. That's the main match.
And that's the only one that I'm like, yeah. And I will say the Darby one versus Luchasaurus was okay, but you could tell, like, even for Darby, he could not do like half of what he did, because his whole rib cage, his whole back completely duct taped because of that stupid coffin spot at Wembley. And he's still injured. I'm like, yeah, because you and everyone's like, well, don't forget that injury that cost him. I'm like, yeah, because he shouldn't be fucking walking around, because you literally did a 7-foot drop onto a metal casket, you idiot.
Oh,
like, God. But like I said, yeah, that was the only real highlight of the whole show.
Kenny win that one, or was still?
Yeah, Kenny. No, Takeshita won. Takeshita won. But it was a good back and forth. He won because
Callis,
Kenny had him before he was going to set him up for the one-winged angel, and Callis handed him the screwdriver, and he screwdrivered him in the head mid-move, and then he hit him, and then he won.
Wait, was this a no disqualification match or something?
No, the ref was distracted.
No, okay, let me ask a question.
There was a butterfly, and the referee had to turn around and see it.
No, wait.
Yeah.
Is it the distraction where it's obvious the ref is supposed to be distracted, or distracted in the way that the ref that always is seeing it but has to pretend he's distracted?
Well, the funny thing is, the ref was almost pretty much looking at them do the spot of the freaking screwdriver.
Okay,
like,
never mind.
I'm like, dude, you were supposed to miss that shit, you idiot. And he's like, I see nothing. I'm like,
Wait a minute.
But it was
that flashback. Was that an episode of Dynamite or something? Wasn't there an episode recently that it wasn't at Wembley, but there was a thing recently where it was like Jay Lethal and whoever else and I I forgot who they were fighting with, but for whatever the fuck reason, Dennis Rodman was with the other team.
Yeah, that was Collision. That was Collision.
Collision.
That Collision. That was that Collision where they had
Don't have access to.
That was that Collision.
Was it? Well, one of those. But the thing is that Rodman got in.
Oh wait, yeah.
Yeah.
It was at All Out. It was at All Out. I think you were right.
Yeah. So Rodman got in there and clobbered someone with the thing, the guitar.
He got that tall guy, that Satnam dude, and he smacked him with the guitar.
Yeah. But the thing is, Rodman's like, he's an old dude by now. So like he never left the ring. He just stayed there with the fucking guitar still in his hand. And you know what? Now I remember now. It was All Out, but it was the pre-show. I wasn't gonna watch the real for free. It's on YouTube, so I'm like, might as well watch the pre-show.
Yeah, it was at the 0 hour. Yeah.
That's the guy with the guitar. This is going on with what Wendy's saying with the referee stuff, So he stayed in the ring. He never dropped the guitar handle. Audrey turns around and he's right there holding the fucking thing. And she had to just ignore it and pin the person 1, 2, 3 so the people would win. And that was and that's the best example right there. Like Wendy said, the referee's seeing it, but pretending that they're not seeing it. That's the worst kind of distracted.
It should have just had to see with the refs doing that. Should just have them looking at their phones or something. I mean, that's more realistic.
Yeah,
it's just one thing that irks me. Yeah. It irks me so much with those ref spots. It drives me nuts. It's like, oh my God, he's beating his head in with a hammer. You're not supposed. You're seeing this. Why are you not stopping the match? Stuff like that.
Like I said, the best ref in wrestling, flat out, is Red Shoes Uno, the ref from New Japan, because literally anytime someone does anything that he thinks is possibly cheating, he just refuses to do anything. He just looks up like, shit. You see him shake his head like, nope. Like constantly, there were matches where Jay White would hit someone like him or his guy with him would smack someone outside the ring while the ref was distracted, and then he'd roll the guy in the ring, and then he'd try pinning him, and the ref Uno would be like, nope, nope. He's like, I didn't see it. I'm like, God, I wish more refs were like that. Or he would always be he'd always basically kick out the bullet. I remember there was one part where he thought he saw Evil hit someone and use a weapon, and he demanded the ref do the 1, 2, 3 for him because he used a weapon, and then Red Shoes gets on the ground. He does 1, 2, and then he flips him off. I was like, that's brilliant. I love it.
But you gotta say now,
but All Out was nothing to write home about. All Out was just kind of there.
As I said before, All Out, just looking at the card, it seemed like it was just an afterthought. And the fact that Kahn wants to do this every year, he wants to do All In Wembley every year and All Out the following week.
Because it has to be Labor Day weekend, he was saying, dude, fuck you.
Yeah. See, it's All In and All Out, like a bowel movement.
I got it.
Oh, anyways, another thing I don't like about this is they got to stop with the things, because right now I'm looking at the schedule. The next one, Wrestle Dreams, in October 1st, and Full Gear is going to be November 18. And I mean, somewhere down the line, they are going to release whatever. Let me see here. We've already had Super Card of Honor and Death Before Dishonor, so they're going to release the Final Battle sometime too. So it's ridiculous now, man. It's a pay-per-view every month. And they
remember how they kept saying they were only going to have 4 pay-per-views a year, and that was their big thing of we're not like WWE. We won't have a pay-per-view every month. And I literally was like, let's see how far that gets. And hey, it lasted for 3 years, and now they're like, nope, now it's every month, and you motherfuckers better pay up your monies.
Well, all I know is this. If the card is lackluster, real lackluster and stuff, I might get to the point where I'm like, yeah, screw this.
Yeah, the thing is, for as big as AEW mark as I am, like I said, hey Jack, I resemble that remark. This one broke the streak. This is like Double or Nothing, whatever your debut, all the pay-per-views, even the Ring of Honor ones. But this one's like a combo breaker. This is the first one that I missed. And there was no reason to go back to it or something. Like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like,
the only other thing that happened at All Out was Cassidy finally dropped the belt to Moxley.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And it was like, watching it, it was just kind of like I laughed so hard.
Final thoughts and stuff.
Oh, I was just gonna say, the only thing I was gonna say was the funniest thing about it was I literally, as soon as they said, and our main event, the International Championship, Orange Cassidy versus Moxley, I literally fell to the floor laughing. I'm like, that's your fucking main event. This is the pay-per-view. All Out, they have repeatedly, literally, wrestling journalists have confronted the Bucks and said, they said to him, I can't remember who said it. They said, so Double or Nothing is your guys' WrestleMania because this is your first pay-per-view. Your first major pay-per-view is Double or Nothing. And they go, no, our WrestleMania is always and will forever be All Out. It will always be our WrestleMania or whatever you want to compare it to. I'm like, so I'm laughing my ass off. I'm like, this is your main event for your Mania. It's Cassidy versus Moxley.
The whole pay-per-view should have been thrown all out.
Exactly. All out with the garbage.
Oh yeah, because Dynamite Wednesday before, it was Cassidy versus Penta, and whoever won would go up against Moxley in the main event, which Khan pretty much said at the scrum, that was going to be the main event. I'm like, whatever.
I remember who said it. What's his name? I remember, I think after all of this, I think it wasn't Cornette, but it was another wrestler. I was listening to his podcast, and he said, I think after everything that's happened with All In and All Out, they should rename the show Collision into Casualties, so that way it would fit better. You have Dynamite and then Rampage and then Casualties.
Oh my God.
I was like, yeah, yeah, pretty much. But I've said all I can say about both of these shows. So I will say I stand with Punk. I don't give a shit what anyone else says. I stand with Punk 100%.
All right, here's a question I meant to ask earlier to you, Jack. So, given that both pay-per-views are very lackluster in general, and that like 99.9% of the matches should have been on either Dynamite or Collision, possibly Rampage, probably the women's match. Which match for All In do you feel could be considered pay-per-view worthy just based on what was on the card? Even though we all agree that for the most part, none of them really were.
For All In?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this out of a place of bias, but it's kind of funny because I was thinking about it. I'm like, honestly, like I said, all of the matches in All In range from to terrible. So I think of the one that's probably the least was probably... honestly, probably like the Punk versus Joe, maybe, but honestly that or the FTR Bucks. But again, both of them are just kind of like honestly, no, I will say, okay.
Oh, I got a better question that kind of goes with that. If you were to because again, it's stupid to have both of those shows. In my opinion, All Out should have cost $25 to consider the fact that you just spent $50 on All In, But if there was just one pay-per-view, kind of condensed, was there one match from All Out, one or two matches that you would put in All In to replace, one or two matches to make it to make All In like the best pay-per-view, and assuming that there is no All Out or something, like what match would you have replaced it with? Like one or two that would have made the show better.
Okay, so I would have taken out for All Out. I would have taken out. Well, unfortunately, I can't take out the world title match. I wish I could, but I would take out the first match, which was the Ring of Honor tag titles. Just erase that whole thing, and then I would replace that with I would get rid of that, get rid of the Stadium Stampede, which are arguably the two worst. Those are the two worst matches besides the main event. I would get rid of those. I would instead, for the Ring of Honor tag titles, I would put the Chris Statlander TBS title in the pre-show, because that was actually a good match. Have that in the pre-show.
But having more, it's like fucking Wembley. Let's have more than one women's match.
Yeah.
There. So that's a good idea.
Right. Have that as the first match, and then then I would have to replace the brawl. I would replace the brawl with a strap match with Ricky Starks versus no, I wouldn't even have that. No, I would change out the Bullet Club Gold versus the Elite. I would change that match out and instead just have I would change that match out and then have I'm trying to think what else I could do. I would replace that match, then have Takeshita versus Kenny. I would have Takeshita versus Kenny instead of the Bullet Club versus Gold versus Elite. I would have Hangman and who's another person that's had an issue with who's a person who's had an issue with Bullet Club Gold? I'm trying to think who else.
Mostly Kenny's people, but yeah, Hangman versus Jay White maybe.
Hangman versus Jay White, yeah, there you go. Or have Coda versus Jay White. Fuck, they got a history. Have them, or have Oh no! Here we go. Instead of having the trios battle, I also get rid of the trios match, and instead have the Acclaim versus the Ass Boys. Have the Acclaim versus the Guns.
Yeah.
Have the Acclaimed with Daddy Ass versus the Guns and Jay White. Or the Guns and Juice. The Guns and Juice would probably be better. But like have that and then have Jay working with instead of having I don't know, have Orange Cassidy defending the international belt against Jay White. There you go. That's how I would book it. I would change it around and then have Takeshita versus Kenny, because obviously they keep building and building and building. By the point All Out happened, no one gave a shit. And even though it was probably the best match of both shows, no one really gave a shit. And then Luchasaurus versus Darby to replace that stupid fucking coffin match.
Yeah.
And then whoever won that would have to, and then while that's happening, you could have Sting versus Swerve. Have that match. Who cares?
Is Sting good enough to like a one-on-one match with someone like Swerve though?
I think Swerve can adapt enough to work with Sting, and Sting is old enough to know how to work with someone like Swerve. I mean, you've seen him do. He's been more active than Jericho in the ring, really, recently anyway. I mean, he's done more dive spots. He's done more moves. He's, he doesn't do much wrestling, but like you could build more to him. Or how about instead you could literally have, Luchasaurus versus Darby for the TNT title and have Swerve in Luchasaurus's corner, because like they'll say management wouldn't let Christian Cage be there. So he had to handpick a person in his corner, and then Darby has Sting in his corner. Kind of do it like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just me spitballing ideas. I think if you'd done it booked like that, it would have made more sense. And then maybe, oh, here's a better idea. And this is where I thought originally they were going to go with All In. Have MJF versus Cole for the AEW World Title and make Roderick Strong the special guest ref.
Oh, that would have been interesting.
Yeah. Because then it would have been like, oh, who's really, are you really?
Who's the real love of Adam Cole's life? Because obviously not Britt Baker.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's how I would have booked it. But that's you're basically asking me, hey, could you make me an omelet with these rotten eggs? I'm like, I'll try. I've got some garnish and cheese. Like, I'll try. Like,
I would have either skipped all out or pushed it to the follow because you don't need the Wrestle Dream thing. You don't need another pay-per-view. You got enough. So I would have.
Well, the thing that they're not talking about, the Wrestle Dream one is a crossover with New Japan.
What? Oh,
yeah, it is. It's a crossover with New Japan.
Door 2 or something.
Yeah, so they're not even mentioning the fact that it's a crossover show. Because New Japan is already announcing it. They're like, oh, yeah, we're doing another crossover show with AEW. It's called Wrestle Dream. And I'm like, motherfucker, you're not even mentioning.
Wrestle Dreamo.
Wrestle Dreamy. I'm hoping this is actually an opportunity for them to bring in some Joshi. Because now, literally, Joshi is getting way bigger, and they're building up a feud really soon. And I hope they said it's probably going to happen soon, where it's going to be Julia versus Mercedes Moné, which if that fucking happens.
I'm forgetting that too, that Mercedes Moné was at the, watching the women's match. I forgot to mention that. They had earlier in the pre-show, but then when the event started proper, they, showed her on camera a couple of times. So,
well, she's still technically signed with Stardom too. That's what's so interesting about that.
Yeah.
So she being there could be a kind of open door for Stardom kind of thing.
Yeah, there's another thing too is that, with so few people that are really left, like you could say CM Punk was the last big draw, the only possible thing I could think of, obviously with the exception of something like, which is not going to happen, but, fucking Roman Reigns or Rollins or whoever going to AEW, that's not going to happen in a million years. But the only person I could think of that's left is if Monet comes over, that's, not the same as CM Punk, but that would raise and the headlines and all that kind of shit,
If they do bring her, she has to have a rival against Saraya.
Yeah, I really want.
No, she's gotten. I will say flat out that Mercedes. Oh, yeah.
I want that promo where she said the last time we wrestled, I put you away. This time I'll finish the job. I want that kind of promo.
Yeah. You see where I'm going with that? Yep. That's where I was going with that. Bitch.
Yeah, and Mercedes could literally be like. Mercedes would definitely say that, and then Saraya could say something like, I'm more over here and you couldn't get over in your own company, or some bullshit. Just play off real life bullshit. I would love to see that stuff. Because like I said, Mercedes would be a big draw. Like I said, there's no I remember what Cornette said. He said literally, a lot of these AEW marks that play a bunch of video games, they hate guys like John Cena and Randy Orton, but they could single-handedly sell out arenas by themselves in AEW. I'm like, he's not wrong. He's really not. Could you imagine there being like, we're going to book Kenny Omega versus John Cena? Holy shit. even John Cena's balding ass would be like, I don't know if I can keep up with this kid. From what I hear, though, Cena is a really, really cool dude. From every aspect I've heard, like even in interviews, he's so self-aware. Like, he was doing this one thing with this old lady, and they were drinking tea, and he's like, I heard that you could turn invisible, and he's like, no, that started as a joke because I do this where I go, you can't see me, and I wave in front of my face, and she goes, you can't see me, and he's like, see. you could totally get over in wrestling. She's like, oh, I can't wrestle. And he's like, don't worry. They say the same thing about me. I'm like, at least he's so self-aware. He's so,
So like that
but apparently
before Rollins became over or whatever, I remember where everyone hated Cena, but still. So Rollins was teasing him like, look how the crowd, they're all saying, he sucks and stuff. And Cena was like, well, yeah, well, the crowd's either saying John Cena rocks or John Cena sucks, but notice how no one's saying anything about you and everything. So
yeah, he's right. Or like I like that feud he said with like what he said to Roman, and he was right. He said you should be embarrassed that I'm here because I can do this better part-time than you could ever do this full-time. And he's fucking right. And that's how I see guys like Punk. Exactly what I see with Punk. Punk can get over part-time better than the full-timers because none of them are like, I hate saying it. It wasn't like, it's similar but different where back in the WWF early 90s, you had these guys who were like, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, all these guys that were younger and they were making their way up in the ranks. They had the skill level, they had the ability, and they had the ring set. But the dinosaurs wouldn't let them get over because they wanted the big, bulky guys. But here, AEW, it's different because it's like you want to book the shrimps like they're filet mignon. But they're shrimps. Like, let them be shrimps. I'm sorry, but they're like, you can't put a taco on a platter and convince me that it's a 5-star steak. It's not gonna fucking happen. I'm sorry. It's probably a really good taco, but it's a fucking taco. Let it be a taco.
all right. So I think on that note, we should be done by now, guys, because we're gonna probably go an hour or two just talking on that.
Yeah, I think we'll call it here. Sorry about rambling, guys, but that's what I do.
Hey, that's what we pay for. That's what you pay me for. We pay you in there you go. We pay you in exposure. So like they always say. So anyways, guys, that's this episode of the David Cutter Wrestling Podcast. Kind of a extended episode with CM Punk and a bit of All Out and everything. And hey, DJF joined us for a while. Ninja Panda had to leave earlier today and stuff like that. So there you go. So
I scared them off.
Yeah, they fell asleep. First DJF fell asleep, and now William also fell asleep. So hey, it works. Tried and true. So anyways, guys, this is Mark Rodriguez here signing off.
This is Jack Knives from Jack Knives Reviews.
This is Wendy, also known as Joopy Chan or Ninja Joopy. You choose whatever name you want, and I will turn this over to the one, the only, the man with the exquisite taste in all foods, Johnny
Rodriguez.
Yep. See you later, guys.
Adios.
Later.